मुर्दाबाद जता निस्सा वाला नारे हैदरी
माशाअल्लाह ला हौला वला कुव्वता इल्ला बिल्लाह العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البطول الأزراء فاطمة الزهراء صلوات الله وسلامه عليها
اللهم صل على محمد
وبعلها أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المهجلين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra al-Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam, arwahun al-fida, please recite your loudest salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one who is Rahman and one who is Rahim, the one who placed us amongst the Shia of Zahra and amongst the Azadar of Zahra sallallahu alayha. For this, as we explained yesterday, is one of the greatest maqam a person can achieve, to be counted from being amongst the Shia of Hazrat Zahra. And when you look at her fadila, her fada'il, there is one fadila that stands out, at least in my eyes. And that is how it is that the Holy Prophet of Islam would deal with his daughter sallallahu alayha. The narration says, إِذَا دَخَلَتْ عَلَى النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وآله قَامَ إِلَيْهَا. It says whenever she would enter into the room where her father was, قام إليها رحب بها فقبلها وأجلسها في مجلسه. Says he would قام إليها, stand, رحب بها, welcome her, kiss her, and then sit her upon his own seat. This first line, just for a moment, this قام إليها, we often have heard it translated, as I just did now wrongly, as he stood for her. But actually, it's not he stood for her. This is qama ilayha. Not that he just stood for her. No, when he saw Zahra entering from the door, he stood and he ran towards her.
Subhanallah.
But this isn't just a father running towards a daughter. Because as we explained, the relationship between these two was not one of a common father and daughter. And then, whatever the Prophet did became sunnah for his ummah. Anything that he did, he brushed his teeth, he grew a beard, he said, this is my sunnah. He did nikah, this is my sunnah. But when it comes to this particular thing, here, him standing for Zahra Marziyah, it didn't become a sunnah for the whole ummah. He didn't say that from now on, whenever your daughters enter the room, you stand and run towards them, you greet them, you sit them in your place, you kiss them. He didn't say any of this, which leads us to believe that what the action that he was doing was not of a father towards his daughter, but it was rather the action of risalat towards Ismat.
Subhanallah.
That now when we look at it from this angle, Zahra enters into the room, Risalat stands and runs towards her. Risalat greets Zahra, Risalat kisses Ismat, Risalat brings Zahra and places her on the seat where Risalat was sitting.
Subhanallah.
Zahra Marziyah is beyond understanding. The narration I started partly yesterday. من عرف فاطمة حق معرفتها فقد أدرك ليلة القدر. The one who understands Fatima as is her right to be understood, فَقَدْ أَدْرَكَ لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. He has discovered, has uncovered the secrets of the night of Qadr itself. And we said that the secret of the night of Qadr itself was lynched on one thing, and that was the ma'rifah of Zahra alayha salam. But listen how the hadith completes itself. The sixth Imam says, وَإِنَّمَا سُمِّيَتْ فَاطِمَةً لأن الخلق فطموا عن معرفتها. But she has been named Fatima for this reason, لأن الخلق فطموا عن معرفتها, that all of creation will forever be deprived of understanding the true maqam of Zahra.
Subhanallah.
Just like Laylatul Qadr is hidden.
Loud salawat.
Just like Laylatul Qadr is hidden, Zahra herself is hidden. She is an anomaly, something that is beyond understanding. And so to take lessons from her life, of her actual day-to-day life, is very difficult. Yes, Zahra had a human existence, though she was Hawra, as we explained yesterday. But we're going to attempt to try and extrapolate, try and understand from her. These majalis of Fatimiyya, there is a lot that the Arafah speak about that is hidden here. There's a famous line by Ayatollah Khamenei. He says that in these 5 nights of the Azaa of Zahra alayha salam that they traditionally do in Iran, they do 5 nights. He says, from these 5 nights, I gain my rizq for the whole year.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
He says, I gain my rizq for the whole year. There is something that is hidden in these tears for her. There is something hidden in these majalis for her. What we have to do is try and uncover bit by bit. Because like the same way with Laylatul Qadr, if you don't prepare yourself spiritually, you aren't able to uncover the secrets of Laylatul Qadr. And we don't. We waste our days throughout the year not praying our namaz and our salah on time. So then we waste Laylatul Qadr praying 100 rakat qaza namaz. Whereas it's not recommended for Laylatul Qadr. What is recommended is 100 rakat mustahab salah of Laylatul Qadr. But because I have spent the whole year not preparing myself, becoming lax in my spiritual growth towards Allah, now when Laylatul Qadr comes, I'm trying to make up what I didn't do. And so I never uncover the secrets of Laylatul Qadr. I never uncover because I'm always short. But imagine if I prepared a whole year for Laylatul Qadr. The Arafat people like Sayyid ibn Tawus would prepare for Laylatul Qadr by the Fajr of the next day after Laylatul Qadr. Their preparation would begin. Forget Sayyid ibn Tawus, the Imam of our time. The narrations say he embarks upon a 3-month spiritual exercise program for him to be able to attain that Amr that is coming on the night of Qadr. Because it's no easy thing that descends upon the heart of the Hujjah. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل, that if we had revealed this Quran upon a mountain, you would have seen it crumble under the weight of wahi. It is only the heart of Mustafa that can bear the weight of the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad
And so the Hujjah prepares for the night of Qadr. And in the same way, if Zahra alayha salam is Laylatul Qadr, is the batin of Laylatul Qadr, then for her majalis we must also prepare. For her azadari we must also prepare spiritually. So that the secret that is hidden, the rizq that is hidden in these majalis can be given to us so that we can uncover it. And amongst one of the many lessons that one gains from the Fatimiyya majalis, one of the most prominent lessons that one takes away from the majalis of the ayyam of Fatimiyya is the lesson of tawalli and tabarri. Tawalla and tabarra. You can say tawalli, tabarri, tawalla, tabarra. There's no difference. It is the lesson of tawalla and tabarra. In the religion or in the madhab of Ahlul Bayt, we often break down the wajibat, the jurisprudential actions of the deen, and we name them as the furu' al-deen, the branches of the religion. And then we often refer to the i'tiqadi mas'alas, the matters of belief, as being the usul al-deen, the roots of the religion. Them being 5, Tawheed, Adl, Nubuwwat, Imamat, and Qiyamah. And then the furu' al-deen are what we say are as a result of this usul al-deen. And all of the furu', they do not enter into the maqam of i'tiqad, into the maqam of the aqidah. Aqidah, salah is not part of aqidah, it's part of action. Sawm is not part of aqidah, it is part of action as a result of the aqidah that you hold. But tawalla and tabarra is both a furu' and an asl of the deen. It is both a furu', it is an action, and it is also a matter of aqidah, and it is part of our aqidah. And we'll explain throughout this lecture how it is that something from the furu' like tawalla and tabarra can become part of the usul, can become part of the aqidah. But it crosses from that realm of furu' into the realm of aqidah. When we look at tawalla and tabarra in the light of the furu' al-deen, it is basically how we manifest that tawalla and tabarra within our actions. Every single action, both worship and moral, akhlaqi action, requires tawalla and tabarra. You can't operate without this tawalla and tabarra. Because you do worship for what reason? To get closer to Allah. This is tawalla, for the love of Allah. And to do bara'ah from shaitan. So tawalla and tabarra is part and parcel of every single one of the furu' and part and parcel of the aqidah of the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And some examples of tawalla that we have, practical examples, because sometimes we think about tawalla as being, okay, just the shi'r or shairi or just the nara haydari or just all of, it's more than that. See, tawalla must manifest itself in your every action. Reciting salawat loudly is one of those actions that shows that. Why? Because it's one of our slogans, it's our chant, it is the defining feature that shows who are the followers of Ahlul Bayt and who are not. Those, and that's why we have it within narration that when you recite the salawat, recite it loudly. Don't be afraid. This is part of tawalla. Another example is when it comes to naming your children. This is also part of that tawalla and tabarra. Because the narration says that one of the rights that the child has over the parents, or the father specifically, is that he must give the child a good name. He must give the child a good name. And the best names to give them are the names of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. You know, one day Imam al-Sajjad is walking through the streets and Marwan Mal'un sees the Imam and he comes to him, he says, "What is your name?" Zahiran, Imam is young. He says, "Ali ibn al-Husayn." He says, "Huh, but you have another brother." He says, "Yes, he is Ali ibn al-Husayn al-Akbar, my older brother." So Marwan, now in order to belittle him, says, "Did your father not know any other names that he named you all Ali?" Imam al-Sajjad left this, he went home. He came to Imam al-Husayn. He said, "This is what Marwan said to me." Imam al-Husayn looks at him, he says, "If I was given 100 sons, I would name them all Ali." He says, "If I had 100 sons, I would name them all Ali." These names, they have a barakah within them. Hatta they say, if you're having a child and you still haven't decided what to name the child, if it's a boy and it's born and you don't know what you're going to name it, it is mustahab. Or even if you know in your mind what you want to name this child, it is mustahab for 7 days that you name and you call the boy Muhammad. And if it's a girl, for 7 days it is mustahab that you call her Fatima. Why? Because there is barakah in these names. Even if you don't want to keep these names, at least for 7 days, your home and the environment of your house will be blessed by these blessed names as you're addressing that child. And then if you decide to keep that name, then what's better? Though someone comes to the Holy Prophet as 6th Imam upon and says to him that I have had a son, and Imam says, "MashaAllah, what did you name him?" Says, "I named him Muhammad." And the Holy Imam, he begins to say, "Muhammad, Muhammad." He lowers his face every time until the narration says his face is almost touching the ground. And then he addresses him. He says to him that barakah, blessed is that home, that house, fihi Muhammad, that has a Muhammad that lives within it. وَمَجْلِسٌ فِيهِ Muhammad, and a gathering within which there is Muhammad, that gathering becomes barakat. وَرُفْقَةٍ, and that's وَرُفْقَةٌ, and that's friend circle that has a friend within it that is named as Muhammad. That friend circle becomes full of barakah as well. And similarly, for the name of the Lady of Light, Hazrat Zahra. When someone comes to visit the sixth Imam, says, Ya Rasulullah, I have been blessed with a daughter. The Imam says, what did you name her? He says, I named her Fatima. It says 3 times the Imam said Fatima, Fatima, lowered his head out of respect. And then he said, now that you have named her Fatima, la tadribha, make sure you don't hit her. For this is the name of my grandmother. Make sure you don't hit her. Make sure you never raise your voice towards her. Make sure you never swear at her. For you have given her an honorable name. So the recommendation is that give them the names of Ahlul Bayt. Nowadays we have all these new age names. People are just trying to think, oh no, I can't keep Fatima, I can't keep Zahra because my uncle's aunt's sister's daughter is called, Fatima, so I can't have that name. So I'm going to go and think of something magical and weird. I'm going to pick up some random dictionary, find a random word, or look at some random Arabic word and think, oh, that sounds nice. The sign of tawalla is this, that no matter how many children you have, even if you need to repeat the names of Ahlul Bayt, and then so many titles, even say the Zahra, if you look at one narration, she has 9 names. 9 names. The Fatima, tis'atu asma' inda Allah. This Fatima alayha salam has 9 names at the level of indiyat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any one of those names, the sign of the follower of Ahlul Bayt is he moves towards these names. He names his children after Ali Muhammad. All of these different types of new age names, like, actually I won't give an example because you never know who's got a child that they've named and then it ends up going back on me. But, stick to the names of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Many a times it happened, people came to the Holy Prophet. And the Holy Prophet said, oh, what is your name? And he would say, oh, Abdul something. And the Holy Prophet, no, change your name. Make it Abdullah. Make it Abdullah. Or then at another time, someone else comes to the Holy Prophet, says, Ya Rasulullah, I've had a son. Says, what did you name him? Says, I named him Walid. The Holy Prophet says, change it, for that was the name of Fir'aun. Says, change it, for that was the name of Fir'aun. Someone comes to Imam al-Kadhim, and Zahir, at this point, Imam al-Kadhim is still in the cradle. So he comes to Imam Sadiq, but Imam Sadiq says, go to Imam al-Kadhim. Imam al-Kadhim is in the cradle. He says to Imam Sadiq, says, Ya Rasulullah, I had a daughter. And said, what did you name her? He said the name. And he said the name, inshallah, those that are interested, I can tell you afterwards. He said the name. And Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam says, change that name. For that is the name that makes Allah angry. He says, change that name. So we have this precedent that is set by Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, where they change people's names. These names are not appropriate. Find a name that is reflective, because the name that you give someone imprints upon them and their personality. So what better than giving them the names of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? So giving good names is a sign of that to Allah. Another example is saying loud Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. According to the narration of the 11th Imam, there's a whole maslihat behind this. Why it is, that famous hadith, Alamatul Mu'min Khams, that the Mu'min, there are 5 signs of the Mu'min. One of them that the 11th Imam says وَجَهْرُ بِبِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ. He says the Mu'min is the one that he says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim loudly. Now, the maslihat in why the Imam is saying so many things was because even though the Imam was madloom, but by this time, after the 8th Imam, all the Shi'as had become extremely strong. There was Shia strongholds in Khurasan, in Sistan, in Bayhaq, in various places. After Imam al-Rada, the Shias were able to expand far and wide and be open. And so they strengthened themselves. So now when the 11th Imam is telling them, وَتَفْتِيرُ الْجَبِينَ, and do sajda upon the earth, وَزِيَارَةُ الْأَرْبَعِينَ, and go for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Arba'een. All of this was to say, now you don't need to be afraid. Wear it proudly that you are a Shia. One of the things that he said is that say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim loudly. Recite Bismillah loudly. Because it brings barakah. Before you sit down to eat, say Bismillah. Amongst your family, make it common for your children that before they do anything, they say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because they've heard you say it. Not because Nabi Lawan came and said it, or did you hear what Nabi Lawan said? Nabi Lawan can come and speak for as long as he wants. It's not going to change them until the parents change. Until the parents themselves change. Things that are approaching them, they all disperse. Why? Because when he says Bismillah, these angels on the right and the left, when he says Bismillah, they say to him Kufit, it is enough. And when he says Amantu Billah, they say Hudit, that he's been guided. And when he says وَتَوَكَّلْتُ عَلَى اللَّهِ, they say Wuqit, he is protected. Now when those shayateen come towards this person, they realize now that this person is protected, guided, so straight away they leave that person. The barakah of starting any action with Bismillah, it protects a person. So reciting the Bismillah loudly is one of those signs of tawalli. The other sign is these majalis, this azadari that we do. This is that sign of that tawalla. You know, Ayatollah Amini Sahib al-Ghadir, the writer of the book Al-Ghadir, some people, you know, I think from the other sects, they came to him and said, why is it that you Shias make so much noise about Ashura and Muharram? You know, all the time, so much noise, 10 days, 40 days, you're there constantly mourning and crying, all of this noise. Ayatollah Amini says to him, because we make so much noise about it because we fear that if we leave it alone, you will begin to deviate and hide the reality of Ashura like you hid the reality of Ghadir from the rest of the Ummah. These majalis of Fatimiyya, why are they so important? Because this event is unknown by 98% of the other Muslims. And the 2 or 3% that know, they say, oh no, it didn't happen, this is the reason this Fatimiyya is there and is stressed by our ulama over and over, constantly pushing us. Mourn Fatimiyya, hold these majalis, hold azar for Sayyid al-Shuhada, because this is how you preserve it from the attacks of other people. This is how you preserve it for future generations. Because there are powers amongst us and outside of us that seek to destroy this azar, this system of majalis, to water it down, to take it from your future generations. And so we must preserve it. We must save it. We must enforce its importance upon our children. Sayyid Hashim Haddad, he was one of the top students of Sayyid Ali Qadi Tabatabai rahmatullah alayh. Great arif. Sayyid Hashim Haddad himself was not an alim, he was an ironmonger. He was a blacksmith. Sayyid Hashim Haddad, he says that whenever you go to the majlis of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, take your children with you. Make them sit down and listen. Even if they come and sleep, they will benefit from the environment of that majlis. And what I'm saying right now, I'm not talking to our elders, they've done that bit. I'm talking to those people around my age. The new parents, those of us with young kids, those of us who say, you know what, they've got school in the morning, oh no, they're going to get cranky around 8 o'clock. You know what, I'll just go. And I'll leave my kids at home. This is not how you preserve this love for the next generation. Well, do you think that somehow your child will become a lover of Ali Muhammad just, oh yeah, my dad used to go to the masjid? Remember, every generation waters down what the previous generation has done. If I now am not bringing my child to the masjid, I'm not allowing him to benefit or her to benefit from the spiritual environment of the dhikr of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, then what hope do I have for their generations? If I'm coming, this is the struggle, this is that struggle, that if I'm coming, yes, it's an even bigger pain that I have to bring my children. So much easier, I come without my children. And you can see those whose parents used to drag them here, they're still here. And you can see those whose parents were like, oh no, it's okay, whenever you feel like it's alright. Now where are they? They have no connection. But they don't understand. Yes, I know they don't understand. I'm not talking about understanding, I'm talking about the spiritual environment that occurs when the names of Ahlul Bayt are mentioned. This has an effect on the soul. Do not consider the majlis something insignificant. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, you know what he would do? In the middle of the night, when he would go to pray his Salatul Layl, he would take one of his children while they were sleeping, wrap them up and lay them on the ground next to him while he prayed Salatul Layl. They were young, they were babies. As they grew, he would take them and lay them next to him in the mihrab and he would do his ibadat. Why? Because the influence is instilled in them. Your child wants to come and stand next to you while you're praying, and they want to steal your sajda, your turba and run away. That's fine, keep a second in your pocket. Let them dance around on the musalla in front of you, it's okay. Our namaz doesn't get broken if someone walks across. Recite salawat. Bring them with. Bring them with you to the majlis. Allow them to experience it. If we are too concerned about their dunyavi existence, if we're too concerned about their school, or if we're too concerned as an organization about budgets and how we're going to balance the books and what we're going to do, and as a result the young people are suffering, then those people that made those choices will be answerable, first in front of Imam al-Hujjah and then in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then why is it that you stop this? Parents, why is it that you didn't bring your children? Many parents, ready, set to go into heaven, will be stopped and dragged to hell. Why? Because their children are going to hell. Why? Because when the children are like, okay, time for you to go to hell, they'll say, Ya Allah, it wasn't fair, it's not fair. So why? So our parents never ever once taught us about this. They always used to do everything. They never told us the importance, they never explained it to us, they never instilled this love within us. The command will come, bring the parents as well, throw them all in hell. All of them. very important. The preservation of this tawalla for the next generations. So these are those outward acts of tawalla. And they're very important. You know, some might say, oh no, but what's in the heart is more important. And people often say that. You know, they'll be like, oh, I don't need a beard. My heart has the love of Mullah Ali in there. It does. Oh, I don't need a beard. It's okay. I have the love of Ali in my heart. But if you have the love of Ali in your heart, then you would know that Ali said, Al-Muhasinu zinatul rajul. That the beard is the beautification of a man. If Ali says something is beautiful, then who are you to say that I don't agree? Then where is your tawalla then? There are many narrations that talk about this. Tawalla and tabarra of Ahlul Bayt. We'll come to a couple. Hijab. I don't know, when my heart becomes pure, when I understand, then I'll go and do something. Then I'll go and change. Doesn't work like that. You know, my salah, you know, it doesn't matter about salah, it doesn't matter about matam. I've got the love in my heart, the azan is in my heart. No, the outward projection of these actions is important. If you remember during Muharram, I gave you an example that how is it that I create hikmah within myself? How do I become halim? How do I become soft and patient with someone? And what did Amir al-Mu'mineen say? He says, if you want to become halim, if you want to become forbearing and patient and soft with people, fatahallam, act it. You might not understand it, but you gotta act it. Because one day the understanding will come. Ma'rifah never comes before submission. You have to submit first, then ma'rifah comes. Islam is first, then iman comes. I now want to understand the iman, I want to have iman and ma'rifah and all of these hidden secrets, but I don't want to submit. It doesn't work. Like that, if I go to join any sort of professional body, a member of the psychological society, now if I say to them, look, I want to have your membership, but you know, I don't want to do a degree that is approved by your society. I just want to have the ability to write member of the British Psychological Society at the end of my name. I turn around and say, hey, what? You're gone. You don't get membership like that. So you gotta do something. You have to act on it. Yeah, but I don't understand. I just want the... Doesn't matter. But when it comes to the deen, we're like, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, as long as my heart is pure, whatever I do is okay. No. So even if your heart is rotten, you have to submit. You don't understand it, you submit. Because Islam comes before Iman. And then the Urafah speak about other stages. That after Islam there is Iman. After Iman there is Islam again. Because you understand something. Then you realize, whoa, I don't actually understand anything. See, when a person truly has Islam, when they submit, then the nur of Iman enters their heart. When the nur of Iman enters their heart, they realize, wait, I don't know anything. And so again they humble themselves. And then they enter into Islam again. And again fall into a state of ubudiyyah, higher levels of worship, until they can enter into Iman again. When they enter into that level of Iman, then they come to another realization that actually I don't know anything. And so they enter into the stage that the ulama, that the Urafah refer to as Islam Akbar. After Islam Akbar, they come into Iman Akbar. Then they begin their levels of hijrah until they reach the final stage. And do you know what the final stage of this journey is? Sincerity, ikhlas. 12 stages of spirituality, what realms of spirituality one must go through till they reach the point where they can say, yes, I did this action truly qurbatan ila Allah. I can't reach it overnight, but I have to keep trying. Yes, sometimes shaitan will whisper, and I did an action, but then he comes and he ruins my niyyah. Because I wanted what the people would say to me, I wanted the wawa of the people, I wanted the acceptance of the people, so I said what they wanted to hear. And so as a result, I lost everything. But that doesn't mean I give up, okay, that's it. No, I have to go back, keep fighting, because shaitan is relentless. He is relentless. And so the believer must also be relentless. So both the zahir and the batin of the action are equally as important. But the inner understanding only comes after the fact, after you have done the action. First you must submit to the actions, and then that iman will come. And this is what is meant by tawalla and tabarra of the furu'i deen. The ma'nawiyya of the tawalla, you have to do your salah, but when you understand it, then you will begin to see the tawalla and the tabarra in your salah. You will begin to see the tawalla and the tabarra in your sawm and your hajj and your zakat. All of this will then be filled with that tawalla and tabarra. So then, what about the tawalla and the tabarra of the aqa'id? I said that this is the only two portions of the furu'i deen that we can also say are part of the usul deen. That they are absolutely wajib for a person to accept, for them to be a true believer. Anyone that rejects tawalla and tabarra or accepts tawalla, we have narrations from the A'immah, says anyone who accepts tawalla but doesn't do bara'a, doesn't do tabarra from our a'da, from our enemies, is not from us, he's from our enemies. So you can't take one or the other. You have to have both of them. They're part of the aqidah. Why? How? Because tawalla and tabarra are a branch of imamat. That root of religion that is imamat, the branches of that particular root are tawalla and tabarra. One loves and submits to the command of the hujjah of Allah. That is why it is in the aqidah. The whole deen is summarized into this: the love for Ahlul Bayt and the hatred towards the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. That is the whole deen. And there's not me, there's hadith that says exactly this. That the whole deen is this: love for us, Al Muhammad, hatred for our enemies. It's an essential part of one's aqidah. The Holy Prophet is sitting amongst his companions in the masjid, and he says to them, tell me, what is the strongest action that will get you closest to Allah? One raises his hand and says salah, other says sawm, one says hajj, another says zakat. The Holy Prophet says, yes, they are all good actions, but it's not the answer I'm looking for. They say, Ya Rasulullah, you tell us, what is it? He says, the best action and the strongest action that will get you closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-hubbu fillah wa bughzu fillah وَتَوَلَّى لِأَوْلِيَاءِ اللَّهِ وَتَبَرَّى مِنْ أَعْدَاءِ اللَّهِ. Says that's hub of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Love for the sake of Allah, loving Allah, hatred for the sake of Allah, loving the awliya of Allah, and doing bara'ah from those that are the enemies of the awliya of Allah. That is the whole deen. That is what will get you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A man comes from Khurasan walking to Medina. Imagine, walking, how many months it took him. Walking, he comes to visit Imam al-Baqir. When he comes to the Imam, he takes off his shoes and his feet are bleeding. He says to the Imam, says, Ya ibn Rasulillah, I didn't drag myself from Khurasan, go through all of this pain to reach here for anything else but your love. Just your love has brought me all this way on my own 2 feet. The Imam says, هل للإيمان إلا الحب? Says, is there any other iman other than love? This is iman. This is iman. We have no narrations that say the whole deen is salah, or the whole deen is sawm, or the whole deen is hajj, or the whole deen is zakat, but we have tens, if not hundreds of narrations that say the whole deen is tawalla and tabarra. Everything in this deen is encompassed in tawalla and tabarra. That means that every action I do, my salah comes under tawalla and tabarra, my sawm under tawalla and tabarra, my zakat, not that I just forget everything and just do tawalla and tabarra all day long. No, true tawalla tabarra is that I understand everything that Allah has given me and I encompass it. And do you want to know what the mahwar, the central point around which all tawalla and tabarra rotates? That is the wujood of Fatima al-Zahra. The Holy Prophet says to Salman, he says, Ya Salman, man ahabba Fatima ibnati fahuwa fil jannah ma'i. Says that whoever loves my daughter Fatima, they are in Jannah with us. وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَهَا فَهُوَ فِي النَّارِ. And the one who makes her angry, the one that has enmity towards her, فِي النَّارِ, is in hell. يَا سَلْمَانَ حُبُّ فَاطِمَةَ يَنْفَعُ فِي 100 مَوَاطِنٍ. Says Salman, the love of Fatima will help a person at 100 different places. The love of Zahra will help a person at 100 different places. أيسر تلك المواطن, the smallest of those places are where? It says al-maut, first death. This is the smallest place that Zahra, the love of Zahra will come for you. The tawalla that you have for Sayyidah, the smallest occasion is at the time of your death. Wal qabr, and in your grave. Wal mizan, and when the scale of deeds are presented. Wal mahshar, wal sirat, wal muhasiba, on the day of judgment, on the sirat, and when they come to tally your deeds. These are the small times that Zahra's love will come and help you. Then imagine where it is that Zahra's love will truly manifest. Says at these places, فَمَنْ رَضِيتُ عَنْ ابْنَةِ فَاطِمَةَ رَضِيتُ عَنْ وَمَنْ رَضِيتُ عَنْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْ. Says that whoever pleases my daughter Fatima has pleased me, and whoever has pleased me has pleased Allah. One who is the enemy of Zahra, one that has made Zahra cry, can never be radiyallah. Can never be. It is impossible.
मुकामे वर्ग यही है कि फूल राजी हो। मुकामे वर्ग यही है कि फूल राजी हो। वो खुश नसीब है जिससे रसूल राजी हो। जिसे जिसे भी कहोगे हम मान लेंगे रजी अल्लाह, मगर शर्त ये है पहले बतूल राजी।
सलवात अला मुहम्मद व आल मुहम्मद। And then he carries on, he says, وَمَنْ غَضِبَتْ عَلَيْهِ Fatima, the one that is angry, that Fatima is angry with. غَضِبْتُ عَلَيْهِ وَمَنْ غَضِبْتُ عَلَيْهِ, I am angry with them, and whoever I am angry, غضب الله عليه, and Allah is angry with that individual. Ya Salman, ويل لمن يظلمها ويظلم ذريتها وشيعتها. Says, woe unto the one that oppresses Zahra, who oppresses her lineage and who oppresses her Shias. Truly they are the ones worthy of la'an, worthy of bara'. The whole deen surrounds the love of Zahra and the hatred towards the enemies of Zahra. The whole of Tashayyu is this. Because as long as you love her, you will always remain on the path of haqq. But alongside loving her, to find that haqq, you must hate those that did dhulm upon her. Both sides cannot be loved. And so these majlis of Fatimiyya are exactly this. They give us this lesson of tawalla and tabarra. And why should we not hate them? For the dhulm that befell her. Yesterday we reached this part that Ali was being dragged from the house and he sees Zahra lying on the ground. Says, Ilahi, sabbirni ala musab Fatima. Oh Allah, give me sabr on the musibah of Zahra. They take Ali to the masjid. Zahra unconscious in the house. They say when she, salamullah alayha, opened her eyes, the first thing she said, Ayna Ali. Zahra didn't ask about the child killed within her womb. She didn't mention her broken rib. The first thing she said is, where is Ali? They said, Bibi Ali is being taken towards the masjid. Said Zahra gathered herself, she stood up, she brought her khimar and her jilbab and she covered herself. And now with one hand on the walls and one hand on her rib, the daughter of the Mustafa comes to the masjid. What is it that she sees? Ropes are around the neck of Ali. They have a sword at the neck of Amirul Mu'mineen. Zahra stands there, she says, Khallu Ali, let Ali go. No one listens. She calls out again, let Ali go. No one listens. The third time Zahra says, if you don't let Ali go, I will pray that Allah curses each and every one of you. Some of the narrations say at that moment, the walls of Masjidun Nabi began to move. They say it was as if the masjid was lifting from its foundations. Amirul Mu'mineen turns towards Salman. He says, Salman, go tell Zahra to go home, because if she recites her dua, Allah will send Qiyamah upon these people. Salman comes towards her. He says, Bibi Ali has said go back home. She says to him, Salman, how can I go? They have Ali in this way. He says to her, Bibi Ali himself has said. She returns back to her house. These 75 days or 95 days that were from the moment that the door, with the incident of the door, and until the day of the Shahadat of Zahra. You remember I said that yesterday, that she was da'im, constantly smiling. But they said in these 75 days, that Zahra that would always smile, they never saw a smile on her face again. How is it she went through these nights, these days? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says in one of the riwayat, says that Zahra, in this state, She had lost all her weight. She was just skin and bones. She no longer had the strength to do anything. She had tied her head with a cloth because of the constant pain she was in. Baqiyatul Ain, she was constantly crying. There was never a time when Zahra's eyes were dry. Constantly crying. I don't know if any of you have ever suffered an injury of the rib before. And the pain that is felt by a person. The difficulty to breathe that a person has. The difficulty to lay down. The narrations talk about all of this. They say that it was so difficult on Zahra that Zahra, if she wanted to lay on her back, the pain was too much. She wanted to lay on her side, she could not sleep. And so what she would do is that in the middle of the night she would leave her room and go and sit against the wall on the floor, and that's how Zahra slept. These days passed. The children of Zahra were seeing her day by day. They would hear her do dua, Allahumma ajjil wafati. Allah hasten my death. They would see her constantly crying, upset. One day they say that Zahra alayhi salam stood up smiling. She began to comb the hair of Zainab. She brought clothes for Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein. She prepared them. She cleaned the house. She tidied things. And she sent Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein around the time of Maghrib towards the masjid. Amir al-Mu'mineen, seeing this, he was leaving to go towards the masjid. He saw her, he said, Zahra, alhamdulillah, today you look better. And he began to walk towards the door. When Zahra Marziya said something that made Ali crumble. She said, Ya Ali, this is my last day on this earth. And he turned around and he ran towards his Zahra. Said, Zahra, what are these words you are saying? Zahra, what is it that you are saying? She said, Ya Ali, I just saw a dream with my father, Rasulullah, in there. And my father said to me, Zahra, I complained to him about all that this ummah had done to me. And he said to me, Zahra, don't worry. Zahra, you will tonight be with me. Amir al-Mu'mineen sat down with Zahra. He took her head in his lap and Ali began to cry profusely. Zahra said, Ali, don't cry. She gave him her last will and testament. There were a number of things she told him. She said to him, Ya Ali, غسلني في الليل. Ya Ali, give me ghusl at night. وكفلني بالليل وحنطني بالليل ودفني بالليل. Ya Ali, give me ghusl at night. Ya Ali, give me kafan at night. Give me hunut at night. Bury me in the night so that the enemies do not know. And then she said to him, Ya Ali, after me, cry for me. She gave him two, she said, cry for two things, Ya Ali. Said, Ya Ali, after me, make sure you cry for me. And after you have buried me, Ya Ali, don't leave me so soon. Sit by my grave and recite Quran, Ali. And then come every night to visit me, Ya Ali. And then she said, Ali, after you have spent some time crying for me, he says, Ali, also cry for my Aitam, cry for my Zainab, the children that I am leaving. And then she says to him, Ya Ali, but make sure from amongst my children, you cry for one of them more than you cry for the rest of them. She says, oh Ali, make sure you cry for my ghareeb son that will be on the day of Qadr, on the plains of Karbala. Make sure you have a time where you cry for my Hussein as well, Ali. Amir al-Mu'mineen listens to this quietly, tears falling from his eyes. Both husband and wife stay quiet for a short while. Then all of a sudden Zahra begins to cry loudly. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to her, Zahra, why are you crying loudly? Tonight you will be free of this world. Tonight you will be with Rasulullah. It is me, Ali, that will be left all alone in this world without you. She says, Ya Ali, I don't cry for myself. I'm crying for you. What will happen to you after me? How will you go on without me, Ya Ali? Amir al-Mu'mineen separates from Zahra. He heads towards the masjid. Bibi Zahra calls Asma, says, Asma, I'm going to lay down. As long as you can hear my tasbih, know that I am fine and I am alive. But Asma, when you no longer hear the sound of my tasbih, then go and tell Ali. Asma says, I paced outside the room of Zahra impatiently, listening to her tasbih. Zahra is laying in bed with a broken rib, her child lost. Zahra is there, as the sixth Imam says, on her arm was the bruises from the whips of the enemies. Zahra is laying there and she's saying, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Asma says a short while later, I no longer heard the cry, the tasbih of Zahra alayhi salam. She says, I ran inside the room, I saw she had pulled a cloth over her face. Her whole body was covered in a cloth. I called to her, Ya bint Rasulillah, O daughter of the Prophet of God. She didn't answer. Again I called out, Ya bint Rasulillah. She didn't answer. I realized that Zahra had left this world. She says, I began crying, not knowing what to do. I came out of the room. How will I tell Amir al-Mu'mineen? Just at that moment, the salah had finished. Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein had entered into the house. They saw me. They said to me, Asma, where is our mother? I said to them, your mother is sleeping. They said, Asma, this is not the time for our mother to sleep. This is not her usual time. The children realized that something was wrong. They ran past Asma into the room. Imam al-Hassan entered first. He called out, Ya akhi, Ya Hussein. Oh, my brother has left this world. Imam al-Hassan threw himself on the chest of Zahra. Imam al-Hussein came. It says that Abu Abdullah was constantly kissing the feet of his mother. Ya Ummah, Ana Husaynun, I'm your Hussein. Kallimini, speak to me. Kallimini qabla an yufariq ruhi min jasadi. Oh mother, speak to me before my soul leaves my body. Asma comes to them, she says, oh Imamain, go call your father Ali. Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein go towards the masjid. Amir al-Mu'mineen is sitting next to the grave of the Prophet of Islam. The moment Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein enter, Imam al-Hussein calls out, Ya Aba, Father, Matat Ummuna, our mother has died. That Ali that was in Khaybar and never faltered. That Ali that was there on the night of Mi'raj and never faltered. That Ali that was there in Khandaq, Badr, Uhud, Hunayn, every battle of Islam. That Ali that never faltered. For a moment when Rasulullah, when his brother Ja'far died, Amirul Mu'mineen, he said, now my back has been broken. When his mother Fatima bint Asad died, they said Amirul Mu'mineen slapped his head and wept. When Rasulullah died, Amirul Mu'mineen sat and wept. But now when his Zahra dies, they say the strength from the legs of Ali went. They say Ali stood for waqa'a ala wajhih. Ali fainted and fell upon the ground. ألا لعنة الله على القوم سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. فاتح يا حسين.
يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين